Now, a lot of you, if you're unfamiliar with the Bible, you may even know the story of Jonah. Like, how many references in pop culture do they talk about being in the belly of the whale? It's even in the new Mario Kart movie. I don't know if you remember it. Donkey Kong and Mario get stuck in a whale. And it's in the whale that they have this epiphany. They hit rock bottom, and they realize, like, oh, we actually need each other, and they start working together. One of the problems that our culture, like specifically, I would just say even like American Christian subculture, which is not something I'm a huge fan of, but American Christian subculture does a disservice when it comes to the stories of the Bible. When it comes to the stories of the Bible, American Christian subculture is like, hey, the stories are for kids. Everybody else, we need like the sermons and we need the letters. But the stories, that's all kids stuff. We can market that to kids. Let's put it in kids' books. Oh, these stories are strange. So then we really sanitize them so that kids like them. And then when it comes to as adults, we approach these stories and we're like, what do I have to learn from the story of Jonah? Like, a guy, here's what the kids' story version of it is. God tells a guy to go to a place called Nineveh. The guy says no. He runs away. He gets eaten by a fish. The fish spits him up on Nineveh, and he preaches, and then it works out. And that's the kids' version story of it, and we're like, there's nothing in there for me. Like, what relevance does that have for my life? The biblical story, though, is much more complex, nuanced, and complicated. And I don't make the rules. If you want to get someone's attention, you tell them a story. Like, a lot of like Hollywood elites right now are complaining, like, the movie industry is dying. It's not. It's just the broken parts of it are being highlighted. Like, we're always going to tell stories. We're always going to tell stories because stories help us understand and find meaning. Like, if someone were to say to you, there once was a woman who woke up one day and decided to blow up her life. Now we have each other's attention. Whoa, what happened? Why'd you do that? Because we're gleaning, like, whoa. It's just a way that we as humans, homo narratus, we make sense of our lives via story. Here's the story of Jonah that God tells. Jonah was a prophet in a place called Israel. And there's two theories about why Jonah was really upset. One theory goes like this. This is an old rabbinic theory. That Jonah started preaching to Jerusalem. He's like, hey, Jerusalem, you're all a dumpster fire. Your life is a mess, and God's going to destroy Jerusalem. And the people in Jerusalem are like, whoa, we don't want that to happen. So they cleaned up their lives. And then no destruction came. Everyone's like, oh, Jonah, you're not a very good prophet. You said we were going to get destroyed, and we didn't. You're a loser. And Jonah's like, man, I am a loser. This is so terrible. And then, so God comes to him and says, hey, do the same thing again in Nineveh. And he's like, no way. No way. I did that before, and now I have no reputation. No one's friending me on LinkedIn. Like, I don't want to do this. And so he runs. That's one theory. I don't find that theory incredibly persuasive. I think it gets at good stuff, like that we start to see Jonah as a person who's resistant to God. Here's, though, what I think is really happening. Jonah prophesied at a time of political unrest. Around ancient Israel, they had these like 24-hour news cycles, and those people were just stirring everybody up. Everybody's getting mad at each other, neighbor against neighbor. It was terrible. And they had this one neighbor, a nation called Assyria. And Assyria, in the ancient world, they were bad news bears. Like really graphic, really scary people. In order to intimidate countries, they would come in, they would invade, and then they would skin the people they just invaded, and they would wallpaper the walls of the city with human flesh of just like, don't mess with us. You know, I'm a slow learner, but I get it. I'm like, yeah, not messing with you. And so at the time Jonah lived, Nineveh is coming to political power. They're north of Israel, and they're just attacking all of Israel's neighbors. And many in Israel are nervous that we're next. And so God appears to Jonah and says, hey Jonah, I want you to go to those people that you're terrified of because I really, really, really love them. I really love them. And I want them to experience my transforming blessing. And Jonah's like, no, thank you. I don't want to end up on a city wall. Neither do I think those people deserve it. I find that to be more persuasive because What the kid's story leaves out is in chapter 4 of Jonah, Jonah wants to take his own life. He's suicidal. Why is he suicidal? He tells us in chapter 4, verse 2. God, I didn't want to come to this place because I knew that if I came here, you would forgive these people. I knew that you're gracious and you're really, really kind. And I did not want them to experience that. And that gets all of us to a place of like, what? I'm not like that. I don't wrestle with that. I'm not resistant to that. And you may not be. You may want, I want everybody to be loved. That'd be great. As 21st century Western folks, we love that. And what God is inviting Jonah into is a process that we call repair. Repair is the process of restoration, of restoring a connection after a loss in relationship.